Food is one of the biggest cultural elements that creates bonds between people. Here on Culture Nepal, we would like to share Nepali food with our friends and learn about their cuisine. Welcome everyone. We have Alissa, Nicol today for our International Cuisine section of Culture Nepal. Alissa is a long-time resident in Acton and very, very involved in community. She does a lot of wonderful things to make our community better. Currently, she serves as a select person on the board and doing lots of good work, and you will hear all about that. Alissa, welcome.
Thank you.
I'm so thrilled to have you here, and we're gonna cook some dishes and share, and I'm gonna cook some vegetables from Nepal. And then, what are you cooking today?
I'm going to be cooking an apple crisp.
Ooh.
This is a recipe that my dad taught me when I was a teenager.
If you could introduce a little bit of yourself, your background, and how you end up in Acton.
Sure. So I have been in Acton since 2001. And I grew up in Missouri, in Independence, Missouri, also in Cody, Wyoming when I was very little.
Oh, wow.
And I came out to Boston to attend Boston University. I thought I wanted to be a marine biologist, so I applied to schools on the East and the West Coast so I could be close to the ocean. And I just kept moving further away from the city, first to Medford and then to Waltham. And when I got married in 2001, my husband had been living here in Acton for 8 years already. And he had a daughter who was 8 years old. So we found a house that we could move into together.
While we continue, today what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make something I grew up eating every day. So what I have, this is a cauliflower. It's kind of special cauliflower. Usually you have this round one. This is called baby cauliflower that I got it from Trader Joe's.
It looks wonderful.
And
it's beautiful. It looks like a bouquet.
Yeah, exactly. And it's easy to cook, and it tastes really great. So, and also I'm gonna add with the cauliflower tofu. Do you like tofu?
I do. I love tofu.
Great. Yeah, and it's great for vegans. If you are not vegan, just vegetarian, you can replace tofu with paneer, which is Indian cheese. So it's similar to tofu but made out of milk. Okay, so, and also for people, some people avoid potato because it has a lot of sugar. So if you're sensitive to sugar, you don't use potato, but it's tasty. If you like it.
I love potatoes, cooked anyway.
Yes, and I'm gonna add some tomatoes. And again, this is like a basic cooking. And with that, you can add all the spices that you want to have. Some people are sensitive about spices, so I want to be mindful. Let's start cooking.
Okay, let's start.
Okay. Also, I like this cauliflower because you don't really have to work too hard to cut it. Just cut any size you like. Some people are very sensitive to this skin, and my mom always taught me it has the most vitamins, so I don't throw it. But some people who doesn't like too much of fibers,
I see.
They like to just peel it off.
I love the stalk, and that's also what I learned when my aunts and my parents were teaching me to cook. That's where all the vitamins and minerals are in the skin.
Yes, sometimes it's hard for kids to eat vegetables. So people who wants to make it smoother, softer for the kids so that they will eat vegetables, that's fine.
So does this have a milder flavor than the white?
So Alissa, when I cook, I really don't like to think too much because it's more like art for me. And
Absolutely.
it's more like a tension releaser.
Yes.
So I want to feel it and think like whatever I want to think and enjoy the nature, like what nature has to give. This is a basic human pleasure, I think. So I like the varieties of the taste. So even if I cook cauliflower today, if I make the same thing tomorrow, it won't come out same.
Got it.
It's like a little surprise, you know, hopefully a good one. So,
well, maybe I need to let go more when I'm cooking, because I aim to have it come out the same.
Tell us about your work, Alissa, while I cook.
I'd rather talk about cooking. You know, I was thinking when you mentioned how it's an art and it's relaxing. That's what I found when I learned how to make some Italian dishes.
Ooh.
We lived in Italy for 3 years, from 2013 to 2016, and many of the dishes take a very long time to make, like risotto and polenta, and even the sauces, tomato sauces. So it is very, very relaxing and even meditative to be at the kitchen stove, stirring and keeping an eye on your dish.
Food and cooking, I think, very spiritual experience to me.
Yes.
And I think it connects people much better.
Well, that's usually how we make connections and develop relationships. Group meals, family meals.
What made you go to Italy?
It was my husband's work. He's a software engineer, and he works for a company that has factories and offices all over the world. And he actually spent 3 years in Bogota, Colombia, when he was a young child, 5, 6, 7, and he was always looking for the same opportunity to provide to our kids. Not my stepdaughter, because she was in the AB schools and graduated a while ago. She's 30 now. But he wanted to provide that experience to them, so he would come home and there would be an opportunity to spend some time working in another country. And I would always say, no, I don't really like change very much. But then one day he came home and said, how about Italy? And that sounded very appealing to me. So we all went. And it was not terribly disruptive, because I homeschooled our 2 kids, but we've been back for about 8 years now.
Wow, that's amazing. You're so lucky. I wish I knew that at that time. I would visit you. But see how I cut potato? So this is also optional. Some people like to cut like a square. This is more fun and creative, because you can cut potato as you like, you know, any size, any shape. Not like a star shape, maybe you can.
Usually when I'm talking with someone while I'm cooking, I will make a mistake and forget to add a very important ingredient.
I think that comes with the practice. Just don't cut your fingers. That's what I would say. So I also just want to make it ready for the tomatoes. And again, you know, you can peel the tomatoes. There's ways to do that, but I don't like it. Skin is good. You can boil the tomato and peel the skin,
take the skin off.
And take the skin off. You know, this is all subjective. I just want to learn more about local politics.
I think it's different depending on where you are in America. Because I grew up in a city. We had a mayor and a city council. So that was more of a representative form of government, where you are electing people to make all of those decisions for you. And when I moved to New England, I didn't really understand Acton's form of government. I wasn't even aware of it.
Really?
Yes, the town meeting form of government. Because I lived in the city, Boston, Medford, Waltham. So it wasn't until I started receiving the town meeting warrant in the mail and reading about the warrant articles that I could go to town meeting and vote on. But I didn't go regularly because it was in the evening and I had young children. So I would go, or my husband would go, and we would just attend periodically when there was a big issue on the warrant. So for instance, I talked to a lot of friends to learn about how they felt about regionalization, because at the time I was homeschooling. So when Acton made the decision to become a regional district with Boxborough, I didn't know how to vote because I didn't know what the impacts would be and how everyone who was in the schools felt about it,
Yeah.
and what the advantages and disadvantages were.
Yeah.
But town meeting is actually similar to what you're describing, because it's the residents themselves who are there making the decisions. So the select board that is elected
Yeah.
to serve the people through their work, the executive body of the town,
Yeah.
Granting permits, making appointments on all of the volunteer boards and committees. They bring these warrant articles to town meeting. It's the select board's warrant, but the town meeting, every single eligible voter, registered voter, is a town meeting member. Whether or not they attend and exercise that right to vote is up to their ability and their awareness. And I know that a lot of people feel disenfranchised because they can't get to the meeting. I was disenfranchised when I had small children at home and couldn't go out in the evening and stay until 10 or 11 or even midnight.
Absolutely, yeah. And we really appreciate your hard work because, like you said, in theory, yes, you can practice, but in practical, you only have 24 hours and you have all these obligations that you're responsible for, and it's not really practical and possible to get involved in every single details of the decision-making process. Is it a voluntary position?
There is a stipend, but it's very, very small. So it's $600 for the year for members, and then the chair receives $700.
We really appreciate that, and
there are so many people who are giving so much of their time. The school committee members, the Board of Health commissioners, the Acton Housing Authority commissioners, the library trustees, just the land stewards who maintain the trails on the conservation land in town. This town is really run on volunteers. There's a whole bunch of professionals at Town Hall who do excellent hard work, but the town would not be able to do the things that it does without volunteers. So it does take a lot of time.
Yeah, and thank you for all the volunteers, including Alissa, for doing a fabulous job to keep our community safe and healthy. And
thanks to ActonTV for broadcasting many of the meetings, and also for recently, I think it started during the pandemic, they started recording videos that were very short, 5 to 8 minutes, about the warrant articles. So for people who wanted to be fully informed before they cast their vote, they could watch those videos, and still can, in order to, if they haven't spent the entire year following these meetings and hearing these hours-long discussions, they can very quickly become informed about each individual warrant article.
Vegetables are ready to be cooked now.
Okay.
And again, I am just going to make a very mild American style of vegetable. If I were making for myself at home, I'd put a lot of chilies and a lot of spices.
A lot of chilies.
And a lot of spices.
I love spices like turmeric and cumin, but the chilies, if it's too hot, I'll be sweaty.
So again, the spices are all subjective, and this is very basic with oil and salt.
And salt, okay.
And then you can add turmeric, cumin powder, coriander, chilies, anything you want. And so we'll just put it in a high, so it actually heat up very quickly. And I love olive oil.
Me too.
But typical Nepali dish, actually they use mustard oil.
Can you find it here?
I can find it.
That's one thing I love about Acton, is that there are those grocery stores where you can find ingredients for cooking cuisine from around the world. So
at this point, I just added salt.
Okay.
But if you want to add spice like a turmeric, you could do that.
Okay.
Right now, at this point. Stir it so that it won't stick on the bottom, and try to make it like a brownish, if I could, because that's what I like. So you came to work your interest is more like marine biology.
Well, I actually never worked in marine biology. When I was in school, I had a work-study assignment
Yeah.
at the New England Aquarium.
Oh.
And my schedule didn't allow me to have a complete full day of work. I had classes every day, so I could only go in the morning or in the afternoon.
Yeah.
So I wasn't able to work in the fisheries department, behind the scenes, taking care of the animals in the tanks. So I had a position in the education department. And I had also worked in after-school programs when I was back in Missouri in high school. And summer camp counseling, that sort of thing. So education has always been something that I've done for work, but I really enjoyed working with the visitors at the aquarium.
Yeah.
And after school, I worked at the Children's Museum in Boston.
Oh, wow.
And the Museum of Science in Boston.
All the place I love.
They're
I
wonderful
love this. My
places.
God.
Yeah,
Oh my
they're
God.
wonderful places, and it was really rewarding work. And then I stepped back from working to homeschool my kids, and I was working part-time teaching children's yoga.
Oh, you did?
Yep, it was a lot of fun.
That's something new. I did not know.
And then I ended up at the schools at Miriam Elementary School here in Acton, because when my youngest, he's a senior now, when he was a sophomore, he decided that he wanted to take a full course load as a dual enrollment student at the Middlesex Community College.
Oh.
So I was able to drive him to the campus, and then I had nothing to do.
Yeah.
So I ended up applying for a position as a part-time classroom assistant, which I'm still doing.
Oh, wow. See, I was a substitute teacher. I think my name is still listed there.
Oh, well, I'll call you if I ever need a day off.
Yeah, no, I totally enjoyed, and I have so much respect for teacher. But see, this is now becoming a little
nice
bit
and brown.
Yes, nice and brown, and you can, again, this is optional. Some people like softer, so you can fry as much as you want.
And this is firm tofu
This
that
is
you're
firm
using?
tofu. This is the tofu that I got from the Trader Joe's.
Super firm.
Organic.
Okay.
What do you think, Alissa? Do you think this is good enough?
Yes.
Or do you want to fry more?
I think it looks good.
Okay, so now after you feel like it's good for you, then you set this aside. Yeah, I'm going to take it out because I'm going to fry. Frying is my... I don't know how healthy it is.
You're using olive oil. I think you're safe.
Okay, yeah, I know. But I like to fry my vegetables. You can make a stew sometimes, but this particular dish is good when I fry.
Okay.
So, and then I'm going to fry potato, just like that. And then I put the salt again. And I don't really measure. I just eye it. So I'm just going to do you like a lot of salt or little salt?
A little salt.
Okay, here we go. I think that should be good. And then again, at this point, you can add all the spices you like.
Okay.
Turmeric, coriander, whatever. And then
so if you've already added that to the tofu, you would add more spices to each vegetable.
Yes,
okay.
each vegetable. So
good.
So that's, and it's going to take a little bit longer, I think, for
potatoes take a while.
Yes. Once potato is done, then we can all go smoothly. And then occasionally I come back and then stir it so that it won't burn at the bottom. So while we wait for our potato to be cooked, Alissa, would you like to start your fabulous apple crisp? I'm so excited. We're in New England. We have lots of apples, and I want to learn all about apples and the apple crisp.
Yes. In fact, when I first got involved in the town politics, committees, and going to meetings, I learned that Acton was once upon a time covered with apple orchards. So that was a little history I learned when I started paying attention. So this recipe I actually learned from my dad when I was in Missouri, when I was a teenager, apple crisp. And it's very simple, the way that he made it. It's just peeled and sliced apples in the bottom, and then the oat, brown sugar, and flour crumble on the top.
Okay.
So we don't add cinnamon or nuts. Some people add cinnamon and sugar and flour to the apple and stir it up so it becomes like an apple pie filling.
Okay.
But I just put the apples in the bottom.
Okay.
I like to taste the flavors of the individual ingredients more. So these apples are Honeycrisp.
Okay.
And I like to use any kind of apple that's good for baking.
Okay.
So we talked earlier about Jonathan's, Pink Ladies, McCown's.
How many types of apple we have?
Oh, I think probably over 300 different varieties.
Only in New England?
I think so, yes.
Wow.
I'm sure they're not all grown here in New England, but there are hundreds of apple varieties.
Wow, okay.
And I like the ones that are very firm and crisp and also a little bit tart.
Yeah.
And Honeycrisp are actually good for eating, just eating plain, but also for baking.
Oh, okay.
When I'm making the apple crisp, I just cut out the core.
Can I help you a little bit?
Sure, yeah. Okay. I find that it's faster to use a paring knife to just take the peels off. Okay. And then you can slice them up right after they're peeled.
What about the size?
So they're thin slices, maybe about half a centimeter.
Okay.
Or so.
Sorry, I have to keep
go ahead.
the potato too.
So I will say that I have had apple crisps made by people that leave the peel on.
Yes.
And as long as the texture when you're eating it doesn't bother you, then that's one way to keep those vitamins and minerals in your dish.
Can I test a little bit how it tastes?
Taste? Yes, absolutely. Yes, Honeycrisp are some of the most popular apples.
Wow. Oh, this is delicious just by itself.
Apples store very well, so you can enjoy them year-round.
So you actually pile all the apples without mixing it, or you mix it later? Oh.
So I just layer them in here without adding anything to create a filling, and then I just put the crumble mixture on top.
Oh, that's very clean.
And if you're using a 9x13 baking dish, you would probably need 8 apples, depending on the size of the apple and the size of your dish. That's how you decide how many apples you're going to use. But I think this is good because I don't want it to bubble over the top. So one thing that's not in this recipe is garlic and onion, which I'm used to adding to vegetable dishes. Is that used in Nepal?
So yeah, actually that's a very good point. I come from a family, they have like so strict rules about food. Even even the way you cook.
Yeah.
My grandmother would not eat food I cook. And I think it's mainly because in old time it's more like sanitation and health reason.
Sure.
Because like children are not allowed in kitchen. There are lots of
they play in the dirt.
Yeah, and there's a whole different Vedic philosophy and theories behind food. We all agree what we eat are who we are. So garlics and onions actually fabulous, which I eat, but in my traditional, my family rules, they are not allowed. There are foods that invoke your emotions. So the garlics and onions are more hyper. Cilantro is the thing that I would garnish at the end.
So if we put the crumble on top, then the apples won't brown. If you are taking a long time, maybe you have a larger dish and you want to make sure that the apples don't brown, you can add a little bit of lemon juice. And just like you, I do not measure or use a recipe, so I'm just going to eye how many oats I think will make a nice layer over this dish of apples. So I'm going to add a little bit of wheat flour, although it is very easy to make this gluten-free recipe. So I'm just adding a little bit of flour, maybe 1/4 cup. So then some brown sugar, which I'm also not measuring. So I just pour this over the top.
Just like that dry?
Yep. So the only thing that's in here is brown sugar, oats, and a little bit of flour.
Okay.
And then on the top, I'm going to put some slices of butter,
Okay.
and it's easier to slice.
Okay.
So very thin slices of the butter, and then just layer it on top. And as it bakes, the butter melts and creates the crisp
Okay, I see.
out of the oats.
It feels so odd to see this crumble without the water. And
Right.
that looks pretty too.
This is salted butter, so then you don't have to add any salt to the recipe. So
Yeah,
this is
alright.
ready to go into the
Whoa.
oven.
Okay.
And you bake it at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for 45 minutes.
Okay.
But what I do is I will take the end of a knife and just push it into the crisp
Okay.
to make sure that the apple is soft. If there's a resistance, it's not quite cooked enough.
So you don't have to cover it or anything?
No, you don't
because
cover
then-
it with foil.
Okay. And again, cauliflower, some people like it soft. I like the texture, so I'm just going to add, there's a little water, I don't mind this. So again, the salt that I added was for potatoes, so I need some more salt. I'm going to add more, a little bit for the cauliflower. I add as I go along. I think that's good. So maybe 5 minutes or 10 minutes of cooking with the potato and this cauliflower. Again, at this point, you can add turmeric or any other spices that you like.
Okay.
And chili paper for me.
For you.
Yes. I love chili. It's a kind of addiction, you know.
I like a little bit of pepper.
At this time, I'm going to add some tomatoes now and then cook it a little bit more.
Okay,
Beautiful. Let it sit for a while. So at this point, I'm going to add tofu, and then tofu is already cooked, as you know.
Yeah.
Mixing it together. So again, this is without the spices that I usually put, but I hope it will taste good.
Well, I told you I like to taste the ingredients.
I think
The
this will be-
flavor of the
yeah.
individual ingredients.
Imagine with garlic and onion if you have.
So we talked a lot about my work. Do you want to share your work?
Yeah, absolutely. Moved in Acton in 1998. Once I had a child, I stayed home. Having a child is a big way of learning about the community. So I learned a lot, just like you. I had an electrical engineering background, chemistry and biology, kind of pre-made type of education before I came here. But then I stayed home and I just learned the whole different side of life. Raising kids, getting involved with the community, and because I came from a Nepali culture, it was very confusing and difficult to raise a bicultural. I started slowly involved with the community with the Playdate. I started a cultural parenting group in First Connection.
Oh, nice.
That was very satisfying because America is like a melting pot. And you don't want me to say that.
I
Tell
don't like the phrase melting pot.
Okay.
Because melting pot implies that we should all become the same. We melt. We lose those qualities that make us unique. I like to think of
what
this
do you
country in particular as more of a mosaic or a tapestry where you put all of these very different, unique together, but they still retain their unique qualities. They make something that is much more beautiful, interesting.
Believe it or not, I came to America to share my culture. That's the reason why I came here.
And we're the more richer because when people come and share their culture.
Learn about American community and then see the need for cultural parenting. Then I decided to go back to the college to study international development, policy making. It opened my eyes a lot. So I got more interested in producing Culture Nepal because people have questions and I have to answer every single person. And ActonTV has been fabulous. Fast forward, I just recently started working for AB Resource Center. It also make me connected with my community where I live and spend more of my life than where I was born. It allows me to see how local people here are working hard to make real local people's life better and be there for each other.
So lucky to have you.
You
have that experience as an immigrant yourself
Yeah.
to bring to that work, relating to folks that are coming into the community, not only new, but maybe long time
I hope
as
so.
well, but to connect them to available community resources that they are in need of.
And then somebody like you who come and volunteers, I get to meet them and we talk about the issues and how to improve. And like you said, there's a need, economic needs, and it doesn't have to be difficult. Donating clothes, listening to people's need and having a space where they can go and ask questions. We have a lot of resources there. I think United Way is also changing because of the economic landscape. And as much as we are branded as a United Way, it's actually local, and they need a local resource and support. Also with the Culture Nepal, we can collaborate, and I look forward.
And I'm hoping that central location for information about community resources will bring us really far down the road. So one of the other challenges besides financial is communication, connecting people with resources and connecting people with information that they need in order to find the resources that they are needing, or find information about what's happening in town.
Before I was connected with this AB Resource Center, and I really was hoping that community will come together and have a town center in Kmart.
Yeah, community center.
Community center in Kmart, and that particular location, I see that is very much needed.
That's where people make connections, is at centers like that, like Danny's Place or the senior center or the recreation center. They're just scattered around town and they're serving different constituencies, whereas a community center brings everyone together under the same building. And when my kids were little, we actually went out of town in order to take advantage of programming and resources that were available. One day I hope that we'll have a location where those different constituencies can come together.
And I love that word, United Way. We need to unite to bring this together. No other way than moving forward and going strong together. So thank you, Alissa, for
together.
Together we're gonna
That's the only way we can move forward.
United Way. Having said that, I think I'm done with my vegetable cooking. So I'm gonna put this on the serving dish, and see, there's some,
which is beautiful and reminds me of Italy.
Oh, nice. We just make our American Italy here in Acton. This is the tarkari. Tarkari. This is a general term for vegetables. Ready to be served. What I did is I made fried dough at home. That goes very well with both vegetables and your apple crisp. So we can have both dessert and the meal with that together. And I also made some chia. We call it chia in Nepali, which is like an equivalent to chai tea. So are you ready to eat?
Yes. Okay.
So what I would do is I'll get this vegetable on the side. You can make your own plate.
Okay.
Because you know how much you want, what you want. Like some people like potato more, some people like cauliflower more, some people like tofu more, so you can kind of customize your taste.
Really looking forward to trying this baby cauliflower.
Okay, so enough, but 1.5 fried dough. And here is the...
Oh, you're taking 1.5.
Yeah, can't have just half. And I'm gonna pour some warm right now.
Wonderful.
Is that okay?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, and it is a lot of sugar. I put a lot of sugar. I was very generous for the sugar. So I'm going to just... We have an apple crisp.
We have the apple crisp.
We can have apple crisp on the side.
Okay. Would you like me to serve
Yes,
you?
please. Yes, please. Thank you. Because that's something new I learned today. Thank you. Ooh, that looks really good.
So it's looking wet. Mm-hmm. Because the apples are very juicy and the butter melted.
I'm totally surprised by the way you did not put any. I can't get over that. Really amazing. And you know, like some people like to dig into the dessert first. I don't mind that. You know, it's a very healthy dessert.
This is
apple
fried
crisp,
dough.
Fried dough.
Fried dough.
Very
Okay.
simple fried dough. You just make dough and fry it. You can use oil, but I use like ghee. So this is very rich.
That's very tasty.
Yeah. So what I do is I put this with the potato. It tastes so good.
That food tastes better when you
So
eat
what
it with
do you
your
think?
hands. That's very good.
Try with potato and try with cauliflower and tofu. Let me know which one you like.
I like them all, I think. The tofu is very good.
And you can try all three together. This is something I'm excited to try. What do you think?
That is good. I do think that we could have added cinnamon to this because we're eating it with the fried dough. Yeah, that's delicious. I'm going to try this super sugary chia.
Oh,
Oh,
to us.
to us, to community,
To community.
and connection together,
And ActonTV.
and ActonTV. That's very good.
You like it? Mm-hmm. It has a cinnamon.
Yes,
And it has clove, cardamom.
very good.
So I hope you all enjoyed watching us cook and talk and learn more about community and Alissa's work. I hope you'll make this dish at home and enjoy with your friends and family.
Thank you so much for having me
that's
and making me this wonderful dish. Fusion.
Fusion mosaic.
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 Thank you.
Buddha, Buddha,